darlings, how's it going? My name is Craig, and welcome to a Metalfoes deck profile. So I promised this in my most recent video, the last upload of 2016, which was my year in review video, so I'm going to deliver right here. Now, I've been playing Metalfoes ever since they first came out, pretty much in the OCG, and well, Metalfoes is then, but now they're Metalfoes, and I've been playing them since they came out in the TCG as Metalfoes. I've been refining my deck over and over and over again, and I'm very happy with my current build, so I wanted to do a deck profile on it. Without further ado, here we go. We're going to start with the monsters, spells, and traps, then we're going to go to the extra deck, and then we'll move on to the explanation segment where I explain to you guys why I'm running certain ratios and etc, etc. So starting with the monsters, we run 3 each of all the vanillas, so 3 Volflame, 3 Gold Driver, 3 Silvered, 3 Stealing, and then I run 2 Bismugear. That's it for all the Metalfoes monsters. Other monsters in the deck, I run 2 Archfiend Eccentrics, 2 Bumbuku and 1 Kieran, 1 Luster Pendulum, 3 Gofu, 1 Rescue Rabbit, and finally 2 Maxis for dropout. For the spell cards, I run 2 of the Fusion, 1 of the Quick Play Fusion, 2 Painful Decisions, 2 MSTs, and my secret weapon, 2 Smoke Grenades of the Thief. Moving on to traps, I run 1 combination, 1 counter, 2 strikes, and finally 1 warning. And that's it for the trap lineup. Moving on to the extra deck. For the extra deck, I run 3 Orichalc, 1 Mythriel, 2 Alcahest, 1 Animan, and that's it for the Metalfoes fusions in the extra deck. For the synchros, I run 1 Zolkin, 1 Ignista, 1 Crystal Wing, and 1 Void Ogre Dragon. And finally, for the Xyz, I run 1 Castell, 1 Utopia, 1 Lightning, and finally 1 Big Eye. So let's move on to the explanation segment. Okay, so I don't really think I need to explain 3 each of the vanilla pendulums. That's kind of standard in every single Metalfoes deck. If you're not running 3 each of the vanillas, then why are you even playing Metalfoes? Shame on you! So the reason I go with 2 Bismugear as opposed to 3, I've seen a fair amount of people running 3. The way I look at it, because a lot of people look at it different from me, yeah, I get a search in the end phase, that's cool, but when I play Bismugear, I don't see that search in the end phase. I'm more concerned with the fact that I can't pen summon it. It really bugs me. If I can pen summon it, I can basically get a plus then and there. But because I can't, I get my plus in the end phase. And yes, it leaves me with a scale in hand for next turn, which is nice. And some of the plays you can set up with this guy are ridiculous. I still don't like playing 3 of it, because again, I can't pen summon it, so it can fuck up quite a few first turns for me. So for me, 2 is the right amount. I do love Bismugear, but I wouldn't run more than 2. So the reason I'm choosing 2 Bumbukus over 3 to search out the Kieran is because I just don't have space for the 3rd Bumbuku. That's going to be the explanation for a lot of stuff in this deck profile, because I just can't find the space. This deck is super tight. But yeah, for me, 2 is fine. I don't need Kieran that much. I mean, it's great, of course. It's, you know, a really busted card, but running a 2 as opposed to 3 is fine for me. It's always worked fine for me. I've never sort of gone, oh, I'm not seeing my Kieran enough. Bullshit. No, it's fine, honestly. I don't really think you need a 3rd. It's nice to have a 3rd. If you can't find space, I don't think you need a 3rd, in my opinion. The reason I choose to run 2 fusions, because a lot of people I see only run 1. I will never understand you guys. I've always ran 2. For me, that's always been the correct amount. A lot of my first turn boards, a lot of my combos on second turn to clear boards and stuff require me having 2 fusions to make optimal use of them. Yeah, you run the risk of drawing it more often, which is kind of a bitch, but for me, running the 2 helps me do a lot of back and forths with Orichalc and doing a lot of spot removal, and a lot of the time as well, I'll end up leaving a fusion engraved, because I'll make at least 3 fusions in the average turn on my second turn, or first turn if I'm going second, and leaving one of these engraved just kind of throws your opponent off guard, because if one of these stays engraved for your next turn, because you've already used one that turn, and you start cycling these because you're making multiple fusions per turn, so you're getting an extra draw per turn, it really fucks with your opponent's head, because they see that you have this kind of constant loop of being able to get an extra draw per turn. Against some players, they can't handle that. It seems unfair to them, and they just can't handle that. It seems subtle. It is a subtle thing, but you'd be surprised how effective it is against a lot of people. Just the fact that you're getting that extra draw per turn, in their head it registers as bullshit. This is fucking bullshit. It's getting extra draws, and it really fucks with their head. It might not work against everyone, but against certain players, that subtle loop of getting an extra draw per turn really fucks with people. At least that's how it's been with me. So having the 2 also helps me do that. But for the most part, it just helps me make certain plays the most optimal way I can. Running 2 for me is not just a safety precaution, but also kind of necessary, in my opinion. The one quick play, I do like full Metalfoes Fusion. I love the card. You know, that whole kind of make Orichalc and then have this set so you can fuse for Outcast on their turn. Orichalc can blow up one of their cards and you can suck something up with Outcast. So you get double interruption, which is really fucking awesome. But the reason I don't run more than one is because interruption is awesome, but more often than not, you're winning so quickly in today's game, at least the current format, that you just don't need the two, in my opinion. The one works fine and I can recycle it with Mythriel, so yeah, for me, one is the right amount with the quick play. And now for my secret weapon. I did explain this in the first Metalfoes deck profile I did, but that was kind of a not so great deck profile. The deck was fine, but I just didn't have certain cards at the time that I really wanted to have. So yeah, Smoke Grenade of the Thief. If you're not aware, it is a really old card, I believe from Dark Beginnings 2? DB2, yeah, I believe that's Dark Beginnings 2. If this equipped spell card is active and destroyed by a card effect, it activates in grave, you get to look at your opponent's hand, and you choose one card from their hand to discard to the grave. So you get perfect information on your opponent's hand, and you pitch a card from their hand. So, as most of you have probably worked out from now, all you need is one scale. You can scale it, equip this to one of your monsters or your opponent's monster. Effect, target, pop it, set a Metalfoes spell or trap, activates in grave. You get to look at your opponent's hand and pitch a card from their hand. So going first, this card is absolutely phenomenal. I really want to put my third one back in because I ran 3 for a long time. I really want to put the third back in because going first, this card, if you can make like a Zolkin play with a Kieran and get this card off, that is absolutely amazing. You're getting perfect information and you get to rip any card you want from their hand. I mean, I can't stress how amazing that is. I'm sure most of you are drooling at the mouth at that idea. So yeah, Smoke Grenade of the Thief. I would love to run a third. I really want to try and fit a third one in. I've debated taking Bambuku down to 1 for it even, because this card is just so good going first. But yeah, Smoke Grenade of the Thief. An old card, but this is my fucking signature card of the deck. And if this card didn't exist, I probably wouldn't be running the deck, because at some point I was getting bored of the deck, but when I remembered that this was a goddamn card, just before the deck came out in the TCG, I remembered, oh yeah, this is a card. That made me love the deck even more, and since then I've just had a newfound love for the deck, and I can't stop playing it now, because just getting this card off, even just once every couple duels, is phenomenal. It feels so good. It straight up pisses people off. There's no way you can't hate this card when it's used on you. It's just bullshit. It's fucking unfair, it's dumb, and I fucking love Smoke Grenade of the Thief. One counter. Now, the one combination is fairly standard. I think most people are running one at this point. But the fact that I'm only running one counter bugs the fuck out of me, because 2, for me, in my opinion, 2 is the perfect amount. But it's another fucking space thing where I just cannot find the space to fit another one in. And it bugs me so much. But as it stands, from all of my testing with one counter, one has worked fine. I've just had to make some slightly different plays than I used to make. I've adapted to having one now, so I can play the deck just fine with one. But man, if I could find space for a second counter, I would absolutely do so. Having 2 counters is just excellent at setting up your second turn. I can still set it up just fine, but having that second counter really makes it so much more potent. So moving on to the extra deck. 3, Orichalc. I've seen quite a few people in the competitive scene only running 2. For me, Orichalc is definitely a 3-off, without question, and here's why. The spot removal effect of Orichalc, once you get used to having 3 of these and you know how to abuse them just right, that will win you games outright. Just being able to cycle through 2 or 3 of these in a turn and get their effects engraved to spot removal back row, it relieves all the pressure of making plays when you finally wipe out all their back row and you can just start raping their board with shit from your extra deck. It works so well. If you're not running 3 Orichalc, try out 3 and you'll understand why it's so good at 3. Just get used to playing 3, get used to all of the stupid little combos you can do with spot removal, and you'll understand. Now, the double piercing damage is of course absolutely phenomenal. That's why it's at least a 2 of, but that spot removal comes into play so often and just works so good against most of the current meta decks. Now, a lot of people will berate me for only running 1 Mythriel. Again, with the extra deck, same problem with the main deck. I don't have space for more. If I could run a second, I would, but I just don't feel anything in my extra deck is worth taking out for a second Mythriel. I just don't abuse this like most people do, and I abuse my Orichalcs instead, and honestly, I find that better because I'm removing stuff as opposed to bouncing stuff. Now, if you're bouncing extra deck monsters, of course, that's as good as removing them most of the time. But when people use this to like bounce back rows and stuff, instead of that, for me, I'll just go make Orichalc, and I'll blow their shit up instead of bouncing it. Recycling stuff is super useful, but more often than not, I only really want to do that the once. I want to put back my quick play, I'll put back an Outcast and an Orichalc or something like that, I never really want to cycle this a bunch of times and put back a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I only play one, but I play it really sparingly. I just don't spam them and waste them super quick, because for me, Orichalc is just a little bit better in terms of the spot removal. Now, of course, it does destroy, this doesn't, which makes it phenomenal, but Alcahest doesn't destroy. So that's kind of the reason I'm not running two of these. I just look at it and go, it's amazing, it's really cool. I can extend my own combos with it by bouncing my scales and stuff, but more often than not, I just want to spam Orichalcs, abuse the spot removal, and clear their board, and then make an Alcahest or something. So yeah, as much as I love Mythriel, it's a really, really good card. I would recommend running two if you are going to play the deck, but for me, one is just fine at the moment. I haven't ever had a need for two. Utopia and Lightning. I see a lot of people, instead of running these, they run the Totem Bird and a second Mythriel, for example. That would make this extra deck, if I did that instead of these two, that would make the extra deck I have way more standard of an extra deck. Now, the reason I choose these over those options, because Lightning is busted as fuck, for one. I know a lot of people don't talk about it, but yeah, Lightning is super busted. I don't think it's run anywhere near as much as it should be. It's an out to so many fucking annoying things in the game. But more often than not, the reason I make a Lightning isn't to get over a big monster. It's for that Armades effect, that you can't activate shit effect. You don't make it too often, but when you do, it wins you games, and for me, that's worth keeping. And finally, Big Eye. A lot of people used to run this when the deck first came out. I still run it because it's Big Eye, it's disgusting, it has won me so many games. I make it about as often as I make the Lightning, in fact, even more often. You only run the 3 Volflames, like I said, but the counter helps you bring one out really easy, and the other one just, I mean, you run 3 of it, it usually comes naturally to your hand just fine. You can also search it with a combination as well if you really, really want to make a Big Eye. It might seem more difficult than it is, but it's fine. It doesn't take too much effort to make a Big Eye. I have thought about swapping it out for a Totem Bird. I might eventually end up doing it because, honestly, 70% of the time I bring out the Big Eye, it's just unnecessary. It's just me sort of reassuring game when I already have game. So I may swap it out for a Totem Bird, or just a generic rank 3, since you run a lot of level 3s in the deck. I just haven't found space for rank 3s. I used to run a Grand Pulse, but I had to make space for the Zolkin stuff. But yeah, Big Eye's always worked fine for me. Again, you can change the deck to your liking. But yeah, that's it for the deck profile. So yeah, guys, that is it for the Metalfoes deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile, and if you have any opinions on what you think I should try out or change in the deck, let me know. And if you got any ideas from this deck profile, then, I mean, let me know in the comments. Let me know if it helped you out. But yeah, thanks so much for sticking with me, guys. I appreciate all of you watching this video, and as always, take care and duel on. For the synchros, I run 1 Zolkin, 1 Ignista, 1 Quistorite, quit the way.